There are a handful of common workplace struggles that plague almost every industry. Emails pile up, status meetings are unproductive, teammates working on the same project don't have access to the same information. Day in and day out, these inconveniences can become overwhelming and create work about work. Two engineers at Facebook were sick of dealing with it, so they cobbled together a side project to make their workflow easier, which turned out to be the seedling idea for a $1.5 billion company. So how did Asana rise to a $1.5 billion valuation in such a short period of time? Before the name Asana even existed, two engineers from Facebook started to think about developing a project management tool that would kill email at work, a tool that anyone at any company could use and would want to use. In order to achieve that, they focused on two main points. First, they were really intentional about managing the scope of the product exclusively around project management. Secondly, they were committed to figuring out how to make the best project management tool for a very broad user base. So, they started to reimagine communication in the workplace, linking emails and data together with project updates. They envisioned a tool that could be used to help companies to create their own team brain that will enable them to work better, smarter, and more cohesively. With this message, Asana has over 20,000 customers today, including Airbnb and Uber. The first two things that the Asana co-founders created when they formed the company in 2008 were the product codebase and a list of the company values. They didn't just want to build an app, they wanted to build a new way of doing work. The Asana co-founders, Dustin Moskovitz and Justin Rosenstein, were seasoned Silicon Valley veterans working for companies like Google and Facebook. During their time working for these two technology giants, they discovered that there were two key challenges that needed to be addressed: poor organization and information overload. Rosenstein said, "When I ask people how much time they spend not doing their job, time spent on work about work, or phone calls or emails, people regularly tell me 60 or even 90%. In 2008, the two started working on a side project at Facebook specifically to consolidate information and increase transparency. Their simple project management tool became much more popular on the Facebook team than they'd expected. Every time you walked through the office, you would see people interacting with the system on 3 out of 4 monitors. This reminded me a lot of the early days of the Facebook product, when walking through a campus computer lab meant seeing it up on all the displays." Quote by Dustin Moskovitz, co-founder. After Moskovitz and Rosenstein sensed the success of their own tool, they wanted to dedicate the time and attention it would take to create a tool that would really make a difference for people. Seeing such a strong indication of product market fit, even if in a really small sample market, confirmed to Moskovitz and Rosenstein that they were addressing a big and universal workplace issue. They believed this so strongly that they started to formulate a lofty mission for their project management tool: to help humanity thrive by enabling all teams to work together effortlessly. Realizing that their product's mission did not fit Facebook, they left the social media giant and formed a new company around their project management tool. They called it Asana and never looked back. In December 2008, Justin Rosenstein and Dustin Moskovitz left Facebook to start working on an internal team project management tool. Moskovitz was the co-founder and first CTO of Facebook, and Rosenstein was the engineering lead. They didn't know it at the time, but this internal tool would soon become the initial prototype for Asana. 1 year after leaving Facebook in 2009, Asana raised $1.2 million in an angel round from 14 investors, including Peter Thiel, Sean Parker, and Mark Andreessen. The same year, Asana raised a $9 million Series A from Benchmark Capital and Andreessen Horowitz. Investors like Matt Kohler, a partner at Benchmark, were very excited about the product. This was essential for getting early visibility in Silicon Valley. According to Moskovitz and Rosenstein, the purpose of the funding was to hire world-class engineers and product designers and give them the best possible work environment. This included in-house yoga, organic home-cooked meals twice a day, and up to $10,000 for each person's individual work setup. The early version of the product allowed users to log projects, leave comments for co-workers, tag assignments, and attach relevant files and emails. It was a central interface for team organization and communication around projects. For teams of up to 30 people, Asana offered their product for free, and companies could create more than one team on the platform. Keeping the product free at first was key for early adoption and growing usage within teams. As they released their tool to the public, the team was careful to define what the product was and what it wasn't. Even though chat features and social networks were blowing up at the time, Asana did not want to add those features. After finishing the first mission, which is providing the tool to the public, the next step was to see what users actually thought about the product. Next, the team focused on making changes and asking for feedback. Asana's early users said that the product was one of the first product management tools that their teams actually liked to use. The proof was in the number of users in the year after the public launch. Actually, over 75% of the teams that had joined Asana were still using it, but great early reviews weren't enough for Asana. They wanted to grow adoption to more teams and bigger teams and wanted everyone to love their product. That meant seeking out the harsh feedback and learning from it. In their initial stage of growth, Asana focused on iterating their pricing plans, building out a lot of new features, and tweaking their product design, all to see what would strike the right chord across a wide user base. In early 2012, Asana already had tens of thousands of teams signed up, including companies like Airbnb, Facebook, Twitter, and Foursquare. People had created over 10 million tasks and completed over 4 million of them, which demonstrated that the product actually helped people accomplish more at work. In the same year, Asana launched a feature that they'd been working towards since day one. They released their inbox tool, which meant to directly replace email. In its release notes, the co-founders talked about how email was a 40-year-old system, designed to send electronic mail and had no place as the main workplace communication system. Their solution, Inbox, was a feed that showed you relevant tasks, comments, due date changes, and project updates. In 2013, several next-generation workplace apps were born that emphasized Asana's old-school utilitarian design. Asana already knew from user feedback that they needed to work on the UI, so this was the push they needed to start redesigning the product. At first, they made small changes like adding colors to help people organize projects and tags. Furthermore, they added an organizations feature, which made it easier for different internal teams with a large organization to work better together in Asana. This feature gave big companies the ability to collaborate with multiple teams under one organization. Different internal teams could work with the same tasks, inbox, and search. There was a centralized administration across teams. On the other hand, the feature also made it possible to give the right level of access to different projects and information to each team. In 2014, Asana added a new feature to the tool which provided users with a new level of visual organization. The calendar feature was especially useful because it was dynamic and sortable, depending on the continuous interaction between the company and the users. This helped the company jump to a $1.5 billion valuation within just a few years. So what are the key lessons that we deducted out of all of these challenges? Actually, Asana is unique because it had a lot of early advantages that the average startup doesn't have. Their founders were already well connected in Silicon Valley, and Asana's earliest users were personal friends and colleagues who ran their own multi-million-dollar companies. These are the three most important takeaways. Asana was clear that they wanted to be a project management and collaboration tool that replaced email. They were also clear that they were not a chat tool or social network. If they wanted to be either of those things, they might have stayed under Facebook's roof or used their redesign in 2015 as an opportunity to build a better Slack. The second takeaway is that Asana's freemium business model was essential to its growth. The free plan makes it really easy for a few team members at a company to try the product. Eventually, they start sharing projects and tasks with others and get their whole team in the product. Lastly, Slack's design and the rise of other next-generation workplace apps was fun. Fresh UI showed Asana how outdated their design was. Asana saw this challenge and responded with a completely redesigned product. Instead of trying to band-aid the issue, they went back to the drawing board and solicited instruction directly from their users. Finally, we need to tell you that success needs a lot of effort, but you have to put this effort in the right position. Then you will collect the benefits even after a long time. So keep patient and insist on what you aim to have. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos, and don't forget to give us thumbs up and hit the subscribe button.